This image shows the percentage of slut-shaming comments on Twitter broken down by gender. So for all of the talk of toxic masculinity and online misogyny, you can see here that 61% of misogynistic tweets come from women to other women. Remember this image, this is going to be important later on. Recently, I was made aware of this article with the title, "Why Men Hate Sexually Confident Women." This is an article about slut-shaming. It's about how men judge women for their sexual choices, particularly if they're acting promiscuously. The basic premise of the article is that the reason that slut-shaming exists is because of misogynistic men who define their masculinity by having women act submissive to them. And so a woman who is in control of her own sexuality and empowered by her own sexual choices is threatening to these men, and it makes them insecure. Reading directly from the article, there's an unmistakable vitriol for women who have abandoned the shame they've been indoctrinated to feel around their sexuality since they were girls. It makes men uneasy. I have some issues with this narrative, and that's not me denying that there are some toxic, awful men out there who enjoy bullying women online and they like being trolls and making negative comments about female appearance. The author of the article actually includes a picture of some of the horrible comments that she receives online. You can see that here, and I really don't think there's any excuse for this kind of behavior. If you have an argument to make about the merits of a female choice with regards to being promiscuous or a bit more chaste, then make that point. Use logic, reason, fact. Don't resort to name calling and insults. You're not being intelligent, you're just being a dickhead. But I think it would be too simplistic and frankly quite dishonest to present it as though all of the men who are making horrible comments on social media, calling women sluts and whores, to present it as though they actually have well thought out opinions about these topics. I think the most likely explanation is that they're just miserable people who are in pain, and their way of lessening that pain is to try and make other people feel pain. Why do they choose to focus on a woman's appearance or on her sexual choices, her sexual behavior? Is it because they have really strong opinions about those particular topics? Or is it because, as trolls, as bullies, they're just sensitive to what is going to be most effective at achieving their goal of making other people miserable? And they know that women are sensitive about topics to do with their appearance or promiscuity, and so they hone in on those weaknesses and vulnerabilities. In one of our interviews, we actually asked women about why criticisms seem to focus on these topics. And this is what they had to say.
When women criticize each other, what are they most likely to focus on, do you think?
Looks. Physical, actually. Yeah, body looks.
Physical?
Yeah. How pretty you are. Yeah. Whether they're in a relationship or not, whether they can get a boyfriend.
Who has the most expensive clothing and stuff, and who looks the prettiest.
Looks. We're really bad for it. We all say that we want to lift each other up, but then when we have an argument, the first thing people go to is looks.
Their appearance. It's really important for a woman.
Oh, I don't think your body looks appropriate, so well, maybe you're not happy with your own body.
The simple explanation is that online trolls know that women are sensitive about their looks, and that's why they go straight for that. This is why I think that it is intellectually dishonest, and I think that feminists need to be extremely cautious about looking at the hateful misogynistic comments that they see online and drawing deeper conclusions that are actually merited. Maybe this man at the other end of the screen isn't actually insecure about your choices. Maybe he's just miserable and he wants you to feel what he feels, and so he lashes out at your most sensitive area. Now, the other area that I think is being misrepresented is that online misogyny, specifically slut-shaming, is a phenomenon of men bullying women. In actual fact, the majority of slut-shaming that's done online is women harassing other women. Have a look at this graph. In May 2016, the UK organisation Brandwatch studied how many tweets containing the words slut and whore were used on Twitter. And as you can see in this graph, it's very common in the online vocabulary, thousands of mentions every single day. Where this gets really interesting is when the data is broken down by gender, as we saw in the graph at the beginning of this video. 61.3% of the slut-shaming tweets were from women and only 38.7% from men. Now, obviously 38% is still too high. That figure should be 0. If you've got a point to make, then make it intelligently and respectfully. Otherwise, be quiet, mind your own business. But while I'm not denying the existence of male trolls, to present this phenomenon of online misogyny and slut-shaming as though it's an exclusively male phenomenon, men bullying women, that's just false. The fact of the matter is that slut-shaming is a girl-on-girl crime. But you see, this goes against the narrative that women are in this sisterhood and they're bonded together and they're looking out for each other and supporting each other, struggling against this oppressive, toxic, patriarchy. The truth is that women can be cruel to each other. They are often cruel to each other. We asked about this in our interviews. We asked women if they've ever been subject to high school bullying from other girls.
Did you ever experience any female bullying when you were in high school?
Not bullying, but women are really mean with each other in high school.
Yes, oh my god, yes.
Yeah, kinda.
Some bullying, but it wasn't really like direct.
More of that
like,
subtle,
I feel
sneaky.
like- Yeah.
I've always been really tall, so that's always one of the ones.
It was mostly my eyebrows and like how your ass looks and that.
I had a few people make sneaky comments, like for instance, I'd go to the canteen twice in one recess time and they'd be like, do you need to go more than once?
I was a beautiful girl in high school, and it was a big problem because the other girls really hate me because of this. I'm actually bisexual, so I got bullied for my weight, but because I was quite big then, and I got bullied for that as well.
It's quite obvious that girls are jealous of other girls for certain traits that they have.
It's more like behind your back, so they always say it behind your back, social media, they judge you in their own little group chats and all that.
Okay, so you might think there's lots of talk there about criticizing other women's appearances, but not so much on sexual choices. Surely slut shaming is still men, attacking women and criticizing women. Well, no, we asked women about that as well.
Do women ever slut shame each other, and why do they do this?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, all the time.
I feel like they do.
Because they're jealous. It's jealousy.
I keep thinking it's about jealousy.
If they're not so confident in themselves, they definitely do.
Let's just stop that. Yeah, it's bad. Stop it, guys.
I think you can sometimes do it subconsciously without realising, but yeah, it's probably just to make yourself feel better.
Yes, as someone who works as a stripper, they slut shame each other a lot. Usually that's them projecting their own self-confidence issues out on someone else who's happy to do that.
Women are the ones responsible for the majority of slut shaming. And that's why articles like this one really bother me, because it's just more of this women good, men bad, simplistic, tribalistic narrative that doesn't take into account the actual psychology. To talk about the phenomenon of slut shaming without mentioning the fact that in the majority of cases it's a female on female crime is very misleading. Slut shaming is not a cultural phenomenon. It is not socially constructed. It has deeply embedded roots in our evolutionary biology, because the fact is that women have really good reason to shame each other for promiscuity. In terms of the dating market and trying to secure a mate, all women are in de facto competition with other women. And when there's only a scarce number of high quality men, desirable mating partners to go around, the women will resort to competing with each other, to denigrating their competitors in order to try and gain an edge. Women know that men are cautious around promiscuous women because there's the increased chances of infidelity, of paternity fraud, and so they will talk about the sexual behavior of other women to try and make themselves look better by comparison. When we asked women about this is how they responded.
It's true that it is competition over men that pits women against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be quite a big thing to do, yeah.
Actually, I think it's women that, women versus women, as in they want to be better than the other woman. It's got nothing really to do with the man.
Women will argue and will get into petty little situations over men. It can happen, but it happens naturally the way. The woman wants to be the best for the men, and the men are really who have the best physical, who is the most beautiful girl.
So the important question becomes, what is strategically the best path forward? If we want to end the name calling, end the bullying, end the slut shaming. You see, I actually think that me and the author of this article actually have the same end goal in mind, in that we'd like to live in a world where women are subject to less harassment and bullying online. But we disagree on how to get there. Men are a part of the problem, absolutely, not denying that at all. I cannot think of a less productive way for a man to spend his time than to be bullying women he doesn't know anonymously online. Seriously, get a hobby. But to really get to the root cause of the issue, we need to have a rational, honest discussion about the merits of promiscuity and chastity. The discussions around this topic absolutely have to be more sophisticated than men have no right to comment on my behavior, and if he criticizes any of my choices, then he's just a misogynist. Promiscuity is a choice, and like every other choice in the human experience, it has consequences, and we need to be able to have a vulnerable, honest discussion about the merits of those choices and the potential detriments. From that point, we need to encourage women to rise up above their competitive instincts and actually start supporting each other rather than just reenacting scenes from Mean Girls. When women criticize each other's appearance or talk endlessly about their sexual choices, all this does is reinforce this idea in society's mind that women should be judged primarily by their looks and that they can be defined by their sexuality. We need to do better than that. We should be doing better than that. And we can achieve this by insisting that men make actual arguments in their discussion rather than just bullying and mean criticisms, but also including women as part of that discussion and holding them responsible for giving into those base instincts which tell them to cut down other women. Women being kind and honest with other women is what feminism should look like.
Can a woman criticize another woman's appearance and still call herself a feminist, do you think?
No. No, I don't think so, no.
Maybe not.
I don't think so, because the feminist is a movement to defend the woman.
The whole point of feminism is that you're trying to make sure everyone's equal, and when you criticise what someone looks like, it doesn't matter if you're criticising a man or a woman, you're putting someone else down.
If you're going against another woman, then you, it's not really a feminist. You're kind of just being like a, sorry my language, you're kind of being a bitch.
In the moment a woman say something bad about other women, she's fell in this idea of feminism.
What exactly constitutes a date nowadays? Can you turn a hoe into a housewife? And how do you handle dating when you have children but you don't want any more? All of these topics and many more are covered in exclusive videos available on my Patreon page. This includes my latest video, How to Handle Hitting the Wall as a Man. In this video, I talk about the many benefits that come from being an older man, as well as the detriments that some people are reluctant to acknowledge. I talk about the limitations that you may face in the dating market as an older gentleman, and how to handle the regrets that you feel over a wasted youth. I also give practical advice about how to move forward in the future in such a way that makes you not nostalgic for your past, but excited about your future. As a bonus, there's also some advice in there about how to handle your partner growing older and dealing with her declining looks. For any men out there who are concerned about getting older, I highly recommend you check out this video. For every video that I post on YouTube, I post an additional bonus video on my Patreon page. That means that at the moment, you're only seeing half of the total content that I create. If you would like access to the other half, then please go and sign up at my Patreon. It's just a $5 a month subscription and you get instant access to a whole bunch of exclusive content. It's a wonderful way to support the channel and I would love to see you over there.